there, everybody. My name is Miss Jen, and I'm the teen librarian here at the Grandview Heights Public Library. I'm really happy to be here again talking about books. I'm even happier that we will be opening on Monday for limited indoor browsing, and which means basically means you can come in and find books now. You do have to be with a parent if you are under 16. There aren't computers and things available, excuse me, but you can come in, talk to us about books, or movies, or whatever it is you're looking for, and we're just really excited to see you again. We'll keep doing these virtual book talks, though, because we know that, curbside's the safest way still, and some of you may not feel comfortable coming in, may not be able to come in, or might not have a parent to come in with you when you want to come look for books. So we're back this spring, and we'll also be here this summer to do all these as well. Maybe fall too, we'll see. So we are here every Thursday doing book talks for grades 4 through 6. We have, 4 through 12. We have 4 for grades 4 through 6 and 4 for grades 7 through 12. And I'm going to start today talking about our grades 4 through 6 books. I'm going to start off with Apocalypse Taco because this is by Nathan Hale, by the way. I just really liked this book. It was really creepy, but also really funny. I mean, the title, kind of gets you right there. It's like, what? Apocalypse Taco, what? So there's some kids that are at the local high school, because their mom runs a theater troupe. And they go on a fast food run with one of the high schoolers. And they notice that everything is really weird. Like, people are acting weird. They don't really get it. And then all of a sudden there are these tacos with tentacles that they have to fend off. And they do that. And then all of a sudden, like, the buildings are alive and the cars are alive. And they realize that, or they find out that the tacos have made copies of all of these things. And they basically have to sort of fight the apocalypse. Otherwise they will become copied as well, and they will not exist as they know it. So it's really funny. I really like that his artwork feels apocalyptic in that fiery orange, sort of like, like ashy and burnt kind of way. It's just real weird and creepy and funny. I mean, what more do you want, right? Nathan Hale is really cool. I talked about him in one of my other book talks. He does the Nathan Hale's Hazardous Tales series. So those are all nonfiction, and they are about American history. So he does a good job with those. So this was also a good one to check out. So part of me picked this book because I love crows. And part of me picked this book because I love graphic novels, but actually I really love graphic nonfiction, which is what this is. And this is actually a series. Science Comics is a series. I really like this series a lot. It's really interesting, and they get kind of like, they don't sanitize it. So this one, I picked this up. I really liked it. It tells you all of these weird, cool things about crows. I mean, it tells you some stuff that's less weird and just sort of normal. But also, did you know that crows, they're really smart. They can, scientists keep making all of these, tests and things like that for these birds, and they, know how to do a lot. They're actually really smart birds. And my favorite part of this book, though, was that they will take things that they want to eat, but they can't, get to the food part of it. So, nuts that are still in the shell, clams, and even, run over squirrels in the road. I know that's really gross. They will, drag it to the center of the road so that so that a car will run over it and, expose, the nut that's inside, or the squirrel meat, or the other thing, the clam. And then they can, as soon as they'll wait, on the power line and watch, and as soon as they see that it's, busted open, they will go down and, get the food and eat it and fly away. So I thought that was really, really smart. I don't know, birds are cool, but crows are really, I think, my favorite kind of bird. So Science Comics, and if you don't like crows, there are all different kinds of topics, nonfiction science books about, there's like cats. I mean, who doesn't like cats? Bats. I love bats. I can't wait to read bats. The plague, things like that. So lots of different topics if you are not into crows but think that this sounds cool otherwise. All right, Catherine called Birdie. I actually read this a long time ago. I read this back, I think, when I started working here, which was a long time ago. And it is actually was a Newbery Honor book. And then Karen Cushman, the author, actually won the Newbery for another book that she had out, The Midwife's Apprentice. And she writes a lot of historical fiction. This is set in 14th century England, so a pretty long time ago. And she's not royalty or anything, but her parents, her family, they are like, you know, fairly well off. And they want her to like be a lady, right? And she does not want to be a lady. She does not want to sit and you know, be quiet and not speak. And so, you know, she doesn't want to do any of these things. She wants to go have adventures. So she writes this diary. This book is the whole book is a diary, her diary, about, you know, all the different things about how her parents are trying to get her to marry someone she doesn't want to marry. And it is so funny. She's so funny. I think that's one of my favorite things about this author is that her books are hilarious. So this is definitely one that will kind of resonate with, you know, any kid who sort of feels like they want a little more control over their lives, especially, you know, during COVID, it's kind of hard to have some control. And want to kind of be in charge of their choices and things like that. So yeah, definitely recommend that one. Betty Before X. So this is by Ilyasha Shabazz, and it was actually co-written with Renee Watson. So I've talked about her here. She did Piecing You Together was one of my favorites. I really liked that one that she did. And right here, Ilyasha Shabazz is actually Malcolm X's daughter. And so she wrote a book about her mom. So that woman who married Malcolm X, right? And that's what this is. That's who Betty is. And so, you know, Betty is born and raised in the 40s in the South. And she has a really hard time with her mom. Her mom had her pretty young, and so she ends up being kind of raised by some of her mom's family, until she's not anymore and has to go live with her mom when she's older. She's, I think, maybe 10 or something when she goes to live with her. And it's kind of tough because her mom has had some more kids. She's gotten married and had some more kids, and there's a real difference between you know, her mom's relationship with Betty and the other 4 kids that she has. And it's really hard for Betty. She's just trying to kind of work through this relationship with her mom. She really misses the family that she was raised by before she moved in with her mom. And she also, of course, as you can probably imagine, she has her own activist leanings. So she sees, you know, the treatment of Black kids and Black people in society, and she's really, really mad about it. She's really angry. So she joins the junior version of this Housewives League, which works to make sure that people are not buying from stores that do not either don't sell to Black people, or that are like maybe technically they'll sell to them, but they're not nice, or rude, they're mean. They don't make them feel welcome. They want them out of there. You know, they'll take their money, but after that, get out. You know, that sort of attitude. So it's really interesting to see, you know, the person who becomes the wife of a really famous person, because there's a lot to Betty too. She's not just Malcolm X's wife. She did a lot of her own activism, and this book kind of tells you how she got her start there. I really liked that one. I'll pretty much read anything Renee Watson writes. So those were the grades 4 through 6 books, and now I'm going to go on to the grades 7 through 12 books. This one was actually written by an author who lives in Upper Arlington, and she actually comes into the library all the time. But this is, it's a nationally known book, and it has a sequel called West. And so Edith Patow, that's her pen name, she wrote East. She wrote this book like a long time ago, 15 years ago, maybe longer. And so this is based on the Norwegian fairy tale, East of the Sun, West of the Moon. And it tells the story of this girl, Rose, who was born under, like, kind of spooky circumstances as far as, like, superstitions at that time went. You know, they were worried she was going to die, and then she doesn't, but then she ends up, when she's an older teenager, seeing this big white bear, and she knows she sees this bear, she looks into this bear's eyes, and she knows that there's, like, something different about this bear. She doesn't quite know it, and so, anyway, she's eventually able to find out that this bear is, a prince who was, put under a spell by a troll, and, she is driven to help this, bear, because he needs to break the spell. So they have to travel, and across this bridge to this icy land where, you know, humans are all enslaved by the trolls, and yet how is she supposed to, you know, be there and then help break the spell? And it's really, really interesting. I don't know, I don't feel like you hear a lot about trolls as being the antagonists, like the bad guys in the books and movies. They're definitely not very nice. Of course, there are some that are really nice. And she's able to sort of enlist their help. But this is just a really lovely book, and I really liked it. It made me really curious about Norwegian mythology and fairy tales. And then I have not read West. I'm excited to read it. It came out a couple years ago. I just haven't gotten around to it. So that one is actually about Rose's daughter. Yeah, West by Edith Patel. And yeah, Upper Arlington. Isn't that cool? The next book I read just recently, and I absolutely loved it. So I have read all of Elizabeth Acevedo's books at this point. So The Poet X, she won the National Book Award for. And then there was another, With the Fire on High, which I will talk about at a later time, and that was really good too. This is Clap When You Land, and I loved this book. I loved it. So this is about two girls who have the same father, and the father dies in a plane crash. And one of the girls lives in the Dominican Republic, and the other lives in New York City. And they sort of find out that each other exists, and they're really mad that their dad, because they didn't know about each other, they didn't know about the existence of each family didn't know about the existence of the others. And so they're trying to kind of work through this. And also, you know, the girl living in New York, she feels like she has these Dominican roots that she has never really been able to explore. Her mother is also Dominican, but she's, you know, was born and raised in New York City. And then the one that is living in the Dominican Republic also feels this draw to Columbia University in New York City, and to New York City and the United States, because she really wants to be a doctor. So it's just there's a lot of anger and frustration. There's a lot of drama in this book, and trauma, because they both lost their father, and that was really awful. This book really grabbed me. All of her books are great. They're very, really good, but this one just really grabbed me. And then I have two nonfiction books for grades 7 through 12. So this one I grabbed because I really like to run. I especially like to run when the weather is turning to spring, because it just feels so good to run. And, you know, we've had some really nice days lately, and, you know, next week we're supposed to have nice days, and then, of course, the first day of spring is coming, so I'm just really looking forward to this nice, comfortable outdoor running season that's starting. So this girl's running book, it's basically talks to you about sort of stretching and nutrition and running safely, and how hormones can impact your running and exercise in general. It talks about cross training. It talks about just a lot of really cool stuff. And it can, if you don't run already, it can help you get there. If you already run, it is still really useful, because there's just a lot of good information here to help. A lot of people just sort of run, and they don't have a lot of knowledge about all these different things that are in this book. So good book to pick up if it's something you're curious about doing. And then the last book I have is also nonfiction. It's graphic nonfiction. And this one is a real doozy, actually. It's a biography. So Joel Christian Gill wrote this about his life growing up. So it is called Fights. And so Joel grew up, he did not have a very good young childhood. He grew up pretty poor in the South, and had just kind of faced a lot of neglect and bullying when he was a kid. And when he couldn't, like, there's this one turning point in the book where he says, and he was being hit with a belt by his uncle. And he says, I realized then that I couldn't win every fight, so that I would find the ones I could win. And he turned the violence that he was experiencing, he turned that on other kids, and he became really violent. He ends up being arrested for it, and it's a really but he's not happy. He doesn't want to be violent, right? He sort of ended up here because he was just really just in this horrible place. But he does make a really important choice when he turns 18, kind of turns things around. So this is definitely like an intense novel. There's a lot of swearing in it. It's something that I would recommend mostly for grades, 10 through 12 more. I probably wouldn't hand it to a 7th grader. Obviously, you and your parents can figure out what books are right for you. But yeah, I mean, graphic memoirs are just, they're kind of the best because the art really helps create, the atmosphere about what this person's life was really like. And the artwork is actually really, it's kind of surprising considering the intensity of the book, but it's just very, I don't know, it kind of tempers the intensity, so that's kind of nice. So that is my list of recommendations. Hopefully I'll see some of you starting Monday, March 8th. From 2 to 6, we'll have our indoor browsing hours. We're still doing all the same curbside stuff that we were doing before. And as always, if you need book recommendations or, if you want a big stack of books, you just don't know what you want, you can call us. You can also, there's a form on the website called Your Next Great Read. And you can fill that out and say, I love fantasy. I'm 12 years old. I really liked this book and I'm ready for more. This particular book and I'm ready for more. And can you please pick out 5 or 6 books? And we would love to do that. And I even always tell people, ask for more than you think you want, because that way, if there's 1 or 2 that just don't really strike you, you can just return them. And hopefully the other ones will work out for you. So definitely let us know if there's anything we can do, whether it's books or anything else that you could normally have access to. And again, I hope I'll see you on Monday. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend.